Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? All right. So we have a lot of news to cover today. Yeah, we have a lot of news to cover. Quite a bit, in fact. I'm going to give everyone just a little bit of time to shamble their way in. Shamble on in. I'm too happy with that. I'm too happy with that. All right. All right. How's everyone doing? All right. So, let's stop waiting around for people to shamble in. Let's talk about the tech news of the week for my lunch hour. As you all can see, paint has a lot to do with whether something looks dark or not. I know a lot of people ask if I sit in the dark, and the answer is no, or else you wouldn't have been able to see my face. But I had to paint, or am painting, this room agreeable gray. So it's going to be a lot more agreeable stream for the next couple episodes as I move. So yes, let's jump into the news though. Let's jump into the news. All right, so Google kind of released a big paper, and I have a problem with these papers because I feel like new engineers read these things and take away things that they shouldn't have. And so I wanted to cover this. I actually am going to do a response. Like I said, I'm not going to do a reaction video. I'm not going to read this through, but I did read through this, and I do actually want to give a response for engineers who are newer in the field and see these types of things. But an exabyte of data, throughput-oriented, large-scale managed data transfers with effing go. I'm assuming that's how they do that. Pronounce that. It might be F. No, it's effing go. I mean, it's really effing o, because if you say effing, then the G, I mean, like that includes the G, so it's effing O. But I know that they say effing go, but it's effing O. Anyways, that was way more than I meant to spend on the stupid name of the tool. Anyways, I think that there's some really cool things that you can take from this, but I also think it's really dangerous to look at something that Google does and try to think, oh, this is the way we should do it, or oh, this is how people do it. So I'm gonna leave this. Oh, okay, Russell, you're probably right. It's F Ingo. Yeah, F Ingo. That's probably. I'm terrible pronouncing things. Absolutely terrible. All right. I should have named it Flamingo. Anyways, you're more than welcome to go read this. I am going to give my response in a follow-up video live because I do want to respond to some of the things. Like I said, I think that there's some really cool things that you can take from this. Just basic like retries and how to handle failure scenarios and things like that. But at the same time, they do things a Google way, which are very much them. So I would hate for people to read this. The other thing, I was a little disappointed in actually how much they went into it. This white paper is it's 13 pages. 1.5 of those are references. No, just one of them is references. So it's 12 12 pages, it really doesn't go into much detail. It has this whole bit on fairness, and how it prioritizes data, which is really a whole bunch of nothing. So there's a lot of, it doesn't really tell us how it does what it does. That was my big complaint. It's probably written in Go though. That's my guess. Let's move on to a little bit more drama. So Google lost its search ruling, like many of you probably already know. But I saw multiple of this where people were talking about how Mozilla could be in a lot of trouble with this, and I don't think that's going to be true. Why does it start on page? Starts on page 1. Oh, I'm guessing that this is from like the AMC has a bunch of papers, right? And they were compiled into like one group. That would be my understanding. Why this has that page number. All right, so I disagree with this. Now, I think that the Google search ruling does have big implications, especially going forward with how tech companies like this can get away with these types of things. But I don't think it has a big implication for Mozilla. Now, a lot of people are actually stating that it has huge implications because Google does pay Mozilla for Google search. But I think Google will continue to pay Mozilla even if it's not for that. Even if they can't pay for the search because that's their monopolistic tactics that got attacked in this, Google is still going to do this. And the reason is Firefox is their true statement that Chromium isn't a monopoly. And so this is very reminiscent of how Microsoft paid Apple a lot of money to not go under. And they paid them a lot of money to not go under because they needed, to not be a monopoly, which means there had to be a viable other solution. Now, I know that, I'm running on Edge right now. There's these other browsers that are coming out, but most of them are Chromium based, which is controlled by Google. So if you look at controlled by Google market share, it's quite a bit. So I say all that. I assume that Google will still find some way to pay Firefox. Microsoft did it in the 90s with Apple. They will find some way to ensure that Firefox still gets their, $300 million, I believe. 510 million. So I'm not sure that this will be as big of a deal because Google isn't paying them for the search. I mean, obviously that's what they said that they were paying for, but that's not why they're paying them. They're paying them for other reasons as well, because they would get hit with another ruling. Like they could get hit again with their Chromium based thing as well. And then the very final bit of a little bit of Bill also had a few shares in Apple too. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But it was to avoid anti-monopoly stuff. I would say the vast majority of it. Microsoft is firing back at Delta. Now, I did my own little investigation into this as much as I could between working on my house and mostly painting, as well as working. Anyways, that being said, this is really interesting. So it turns out that in 2019, Delta actually signed a huge contract with IBM and Red Hat to move most of their systems to said systems. And Microsoft basically came out and said two things. First, they reached out multiple times every single day during the incident to offer their help. And multiple times, Delta said, no, thank you. Now, Microsoft's conclusion is because most of their systems aren't on anything Microsoft. Now, the really interesting part here comes in, why did this cause downtime then? This is what I haven't come down to, is because the CloudStrike issue did cause them downtime, but if most of their core systems are on, if most of their core systems are on IBM's and Linux, then why were they down for so long? What happened? And my only guess at this point, from what I could find, because I did a lot of digging that actually I couldn't find anything, and nobody willing to talk to me. I did email. I did email Delta. They didn't respond. But so the only thing I can think of is some other system, either tangentially related or related, failed and caused a bunch of failures in their systems, and they had troubles bringing those systems back online after it was fixed. That's the only thing that, you know, I know you guys get annoyed when I say metastable errors, but it was maybe one of those metastable errors where even when the thing was fixed, their system failed to come back on. So anyways, I'm interested to see discovery done on this and for the lawsuit to continue. I don't think they'll successfully sue Microsoft, but we'll see. We'll see. Windows VMs and Red Hat on IBM. Yes, metastable referenced for sure. That's the only thing that makes sense, because Delta's downtime was more than anyone else's in the industry. They were down for like 2 days longer than other people. They refused help from Microsoft, which again, if you refuse help from Microsoft, would shout, this isn't a Microsoft issue. We're not struggling with Microsoft issue. And they refused help from CloudStrike as well. Now, you know what? This brings us to our last little bit of drama. Sorry, I forgot to bring it up. Talking about CloudStrike, there was some CloudStrike drama. And CloudStrike refused to bow to CloudStrike's bogus DMCA takedown. So there was a website, CloudStrike. Yeah. This is all. After the CloudStrike thing, and CloudStrike definitely tried to DMCA take down their thing. The problem that CrowdStrike ran into, or CloudStrike, sorry, CrowdStrike. I don't know why I wanted to say cloud. CrowdStrike ran into was that parity is protected under fair use. Because they were trying to say that they were using their emblem, which they were, but for parody. So, anyways, kudos. I'm always happy when a large company can't abuse DMCA. All right. Let's jump into security. We have a couple things. One question I have to start security with is your SSH in shambles? Well, if you use SSH and you want to know if your SSH is in shambles, you can. Shambles is an open source security testing of SSH services. So if you have an SSH service, you want to know if it is secure or not. This was released. Now, I actually would love to go. I would love absolutely love to go to Black Hat at some time, give you guys some reporting straight from there, because I think it would be super cool. And I didn't go through everything I've seen from Black Hat 2024 so far. Well, I'll disseminate it slowly, but Shambles is one of those things that has come out from it, which is basically just testing against authentication, post-session authentication attack, pre-authentication, state transition. Basically goes through a bunch of common misconfigurations. I'm gonna post this here and let you all give it a check. If you have SSH, especially if you have any public SSH ability, I think that this is amazing that somebody released it. Now, I don't know if it's sshambles or sshambles or shambles or sshambles. Pronouncing this is a little bit difficult. It's a little bit difficult. There's multiple ways of doing it. I personally just like the shambles. So you go for it. Pronounce it how you like. I also like sshambles because it sounds like a nice little stroll through the park with SSH. But, you know, to each their own. All right. Another presentation that I found really interesting at Black Hat 2024 was the SSH or the SaaS apps with the abbreviated kill chain. So what this presentation was specifically geared towards was IDPs that allow you to log into other products. And the interesting thing was just last Saturday, I was talking about how apps like Authy, if they're compromised, show all of the accounts. And when you use something like, I'm just going to call out Okta because that's one a lot of people know, but this is not me calling out Okta specifically. When you use Okta, if somebody can get an account, if they can buy an account, if they can phish an account, if they can do whatever they do on Okta, Okta gives them access to everything. So if they can compromise one account, the idea is the traditional kill chain that not BlackRock. There's a military contractor. Lockheed Martin has a kill chain that has a bunch of steps. And these services, these IDPs, allow you to basically bypass that entire kill chain. That, you know, usually you have layers of security, by just a phishing email or whatnot. So, any way to be connected? You don't get me. I'm not sure what you're asking by that. This is my news. I interact maybe a little bit less with chat during the news as we're just covering the news, but I don't know what you mean. Any way to be connected? You can join the Discord. There is a Discord. You can jump over on Twitch. I know you're on YouTube. Let's see the Discord. You can go to Twitch right there. Wait. I said, one second. That's just Twitch. Twitch.tv/Merrick That's me streaming on Twitch. You can go there. You can type in !Discord. You can get Discord if you want to be connected. All right. Let's move on with security. 0.0.0.0 day. So this is actually a pretty good pun. I love a good security pun, but a 0-day exploit on 0.0.0, which is the localhost API. So it was found out that a lot of browsers, actually Chromium-based browsers, actually have a vulnerability. I think also Firefox, but with how they deal with 0.0.0.0, actually allowing websites to hit local services running on your computer via the browser. So I'm going to put this, it's interesting. The big takeaway is update your browser or use Edge. I'm sure Edge didn't have this problem. Not biased, not paid by Microsoft. Microsoft's 365 anti-phishing feature can be bypassed with CSS. That, you know, it's a good feature when it ignores CSS. This is terrifying. So basically, what happens with this attack, which is pretty cool, is that the key is the alert is appended to the main body of the HTML email, opening up the potential for manipulation using CSS embedded in the email message. So basically what they do is they embed the CSS to hide the warning. So when you don't get email, or this is an outside email, you know, be careful, that type of stuff, Microsoft is embedding that in the email HTML display that they can embed CSS into to style the email address, or to style the email. Anyways, that's pretty bad on Microsoft's part. I guess hackers will have to learn CSS. I know, it's such a rough life, hackers having to learn CSS. Mac and Windows users infected by software updates delivered over hacked ISP. So when your ISP gets hacked, it sucks. It's like the biggest man in the middle attack ever. Ever. Absolutely ever. Now, this would have worked if you used encrypted DNS. I do. So maybe everybody should start using encrypted DNS. I don't know. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. But who am I? Who am I? A huge lawsuit? Probably. Windows update downgrade attack updates fully updated system. So Windows was hit by a massive downgrade attack delivered through Windows Update. This was embarrassing, to say the least. So what they did was they used it to reintroduce old vulnerabilities, ones that had been patched out. Does encrypting DNS fix it? So my understanding was that because the ISP was hacked, they were snooping on the DNS requests. And the thing is, with encrypted DNS, they don't know that it's a DNS request, right? They wouldn't be able to snoop, and they wouldn't be able to redo those things, right? And so that's why if you're using this, they wouldn't have been able to spoof the TLS from Google or Cloudflare. If people are confused, I can go in on. Oh, I'm sorry, Russell. I didn't get the joke. I feel bad. My apologies. Does encrypting DNS fix it? It's not DNS anymore. I got it. I was so slow on that. No. You're good. You have the best jokes. I just am really slow on the uptake sometimes. All right. So talking about lawsuits for data breaches, NPD is being sued. What are they being sued for? Maybe one of the largest data breaches since what's their faces. My goodness, I had to look up their names before the stream so that I would be able to just roll it right off the tongue. And now I can't. Okay. Credit monitoring. Equifax. Thank you. Like I said, I didn't need to look that up. I knew it right off the top of my head. This is probably the largest breach since Equifax. NPD is similar to Equifax in that they store a bunch of information about people to let people validate. So when you fill out something for like a bank that asks, hey, tell me if you have an auto loan from these people to validate you are you. That is using the NPD. And the NPD has a bunch of data on you, including your social security number. So what I found really interesting, if you read through this, is that, let's see. Let's see if we can control V this and do billion. All right. So it's not in here specifically, but it's roughly 2.4 billion people. I don't know entirely who NPD was tracking, but that is many more than the United States has. So there you go. There you go. This is going to be rough again. 2.4 billion, like a quarter of the entire world's population. Yes. Yes, Russell. Right. Right. When I read that, I had the same reaction as you. I guess it doesn't list all of them. You can go and I did some other investigate. It's a huge drop. I'm gonna now I'm assuming that it also tracks people who aren't real people. So maybe there's some of that where, you know, there are people who steal identities and things like that. So there's probably some of that going on as well, where there's these people that are tracked that aren't necessarily real people. But I can't imagine that that accounts for a ton of people. Oh, it said 3 billion? Oh, man. Wait, really? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I read 2.4 somewhere. So is this one of those things where you should change your password now? So sadly, this doesn't help changing your password. Now, so I think there's a big misconception here, and I really get upset with this misconception. So let me tell you about this misconception. And I hate it. No. I just want a new drawing. Okay. So if your password is not hacked, if it's good, let's say you have something like battery horse staple 1 2 3 Bob builds. There you go. This is your password, and it hasn't been hacked. Changing it doesn't make it better. If it's good here, you don't need to change it. Now, there's one thing that changing happens. If it's been hacked and you don't know that it's been hacked, somebody's leveraging it and has it to use it, but you don't know that it's been hacked, that's when changing or rotating secrets can be an important tool, because now you're changing that out from underneath them. But changing a perfectly good password doesn't actually make it any better. The only thing would be is if you don't know that it's been hacked. This is where a password manager is really good, that can validate your passwords against lists of leaked data. So all of those lists of those passwords that have been leaked are out on the internet, and a good password manager is going to actually check your password versus those lists. Okay. Also, Russell, is another good thing is I need to make a video on passwords, but if you have a single password, that is horrible, because then that one single password gives access to every site that you know. And guessing your username is not that difficult. Half the time it's your email. 3/4 of the time it's your email. All right, not difficult. And social engineering your username is also not difficult. All right. So that being said, this data breach has nothing to do with your passwords. This is your social security number. This is where you live. This is where you have lived, what loans you have with what banks, what credit lines you have open, what credit cards do you have, how much do you owe on your mortgage. That's this information. You can't change it, unfortunately. So changing your password doesn't help. You're screwed because of them in PD. Squared Mode, do you live somewhere? Would you like people to not know where you live? I'm a streamer. Now everybody just loves me. I don't have any enemies. So, not a problem. But there are some people that privacy is important to them. Especially people like streamers and things like that. So, I wouldn't just say because you don't have any loans. The only loan I have is a mortgage. Yeah. Witness protection. The entire United States, actually about half the world, needs to enter witness protection, including witness protection. All right, we'll move on, but it's a pretty bad breach. As far as I know, I couldn't get my hands on said data. So far, they're just threatening to release the data. We'll have to see if they actually go forward and release the data, the hackers, or if they don't. I couldn't actually get my hands on it. I wanted to see if what information of me was on there. Terrifying. All right. New 0-day flaw in Apache OFBiz allows remote code execution. I don't use OFBiz. If you do, you should go update it. That's it. And then Operant. I'm really not sure how to pronounce that. I'm calling it Operant. I'm going with Operant. The reason I'm pulling this out is it's a new runtime application protection system, but it's not using eBPF. It's not using eBPF. So a lot of security in Kubernetes is using eBPF to do the heavy lifting. Operant is not. So that's pretty cool. That was it. That's it for security. Did anybody else see anything else in security? These hackers gotta let us live. Is it even using our ball? All the cool kids are using Arbol, for sure. Squared Mode, thank you so much for the follow. Oh, the null cloud is down, by the way. Some of the networking stuff got moved. Maybe we'll spin that up somewhere else for a little bit. What's up, Ifheeb? How are you doing? All right, let's talk about AI. We only have 2 things about AI. Now, you all know that. Call me skeptical. Maybe I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical about a lot, though. I'm not biased in my skepticisms. I just have a lot of skepticisms. So, anyways, call me skeptical. Call me a little bit biased against anything that says that it's the new biggest deal and whatnot. But I think AI is burning a little bit. We're going to see. I think 2025 is going to be the real test to see if they can actually make the money that they spend. If you looked at Microsoft's latest earning report, they actually pushed back the payoff time of their AI investments by like 3 times what they originally thought, because it's costing more and producing less than they had hoped. Now, that being said, I think that this could make somebody like OpenAI, either I would say in the next 18 months, they need to raise a bunch of money. And I mean like billions, because if you looked at Llama 3.1 versus what they said Llama 4 is going to cost to train, they said it was going to be 10 times more expensive, 1 order of magnitude more expensive to train Llama 4 than it is 3.1. And a Llama 3.1 already cost billions of dollars, or hundreds of millions. I don't remember the exact number. It was a lot of freaking money. Like that's all I can tell you. It was a lot of money. Anyways, that being said, I should 1 second. Let me Google that. How much did Llama 3.1 cost to train? Okay. It was Meta spent $640 million. So a little over $500 million to train a Llama 3.1. And if 4 is going to cost 10 times that, you're talking about $6 billion to train a single model. Now, we can do what we want with that. But I don't know why I got into that rant, but that rant comes to the news that OpenAI has a system for watermarking ChatGPT text created to detect text that's created by ChatGPT. Now, I guess there's some commotion about whether they actually release the tool. My recommendation to ChatGPT is to go ahead and release the tool. And the reason is, it's all based off of statistical analysis. OpenAI's watermarking is basically based off of understanding their statistical model and saying, is this something that's statistically plausible from our model? Because every AI has, their statistical model. It's just statistical analysis. Now, this does 2 things. So Gemini does the same thing and has actually a way, they call it watermarking, but it's not really watermarking. When your text is generated based off of statistics, it's just looking at those statistics and saying, is this likely generated from our model? Now, why I would tell ChatGPT that they should release this is only a business thing. If ChatGPT can detect it, so can somebody else. And you're going to have to raise a bunch of freaking money, right? So you need to do 2 things. You need to, 1, increase people's acceptance of you. And one of those things is teachers and things like that. You want teachers to be on board with you. Number 2 is, if they can do it, so can somebody else. And if somebody else can do it, then they can reap the money. So go ahead and just charge people. Make them pay $20 a month to detect. This is a win-win for you. Get off your butts. Meta have spent more than $6 billion on the crumbly virtual reality. All right, wait. I missed some stuff. So I didn't talk about the T-800 humanoid robot. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have. Squared mode, absolutely. There are tools out there that look for stuff that's generated. And that's all they're doing. They're saying statistically, is this probably generated. Russell, I did not. I've not actually watched the Terminator movies. So that's on me. I did not know that. That's solidly on me not knowing my era. I might have just Googled it, you know? I might have. That's interesting. That's interesting. All right. Like I said, I might not know my era very well. Let's move on. The last thing in AI that I had seen, possibly, is this. Soon, software engineering would be all about managing AI coding agents. Let me just say it. If this is the future, AI has missed the boat. They jumped the shark. They fell in off the jump into the shark pool, and they've been eaten alive. If we have to manage AI coding agents, we haven't achieved anything. This is my whole complaint against prompt engineering. When people say, oh, I've taken a class on prompt engineering, it blows my mind. Because if I have to treat the AI like a special language where I have to specially formulate that word, that phrase, that sentence, that method, then I'm just coding. That's what Rust does all the time. And Rust gives me dependable, reliable results. Why would I want something that is fickle that I have to do the same thing with something that is consistent? That's my problem with this. If people are looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, this is the future. This isn't amazing. All you said is we're inventing another language that's less precise. Who wants a less precise language? Haven't we decided that Python is bad because of this? It's a less precise language. It fails eventually in weird and strange ways, and that's what this is going to do too. It's going to fail in weird and strange ways that you're going to have to go and debug, and you'll have no idea what that code is. This is a catastrophe waiting to happen, and if this is the world of AI coding, I'm sorry. Let's get back to metastable errors, right? Am I right? Let's move on. I'm sorry. I wasn't meaning to bash Python. It was just the whole concept of that. Like what people are talking about doesn't even make sense to me. It's like when everybody was hyping up Ethereum. the whole concept doesn't even make sense to me at its core foundation. And I struggle with that. So I like concepts to make sense to me. I call me old fashioned. I'm sorry, all of you Python enjoyers. I wasn't mean. That was awfully harsh on you. I would rather write Python than manage AI coding agents. You have a tech manager encouraging you to use AI for your work. That tech manager hasn't used AI, or they have a very low opinion of you. I can't see it any other way. That, or they're so high on copium that yeah, I don't know. All right, let's move into the open source / engineering news. It's mostly open source. There's a few things that aren't about open source in it, but there's some cool things. Wait. AI with Rust versus me with Python. Who wins? Nobody wins in that regard. Nobody wins. AI can't do Rust and I can't do Python. Nobody wins. 2 days later. All right, let's talk about these engineering news / open source. A couple things came out that I was really excited about. And I thought you guys should be excited about it too. You guys know that I do a lot with Kubernetes. I like Kubernetes. Woohoo, everybody loves Kubernetes. That's not actually true. But let's move on. Advanced rollout techniques, custom strategies for stateful apps in Kubernetes. Now, I've always complained that stateful apps in Kubernetes always required a custom operator. Effectively, stateful sets were almost impossible to leverage unless if you had a custom operator to manage it for you. Now, Slack Engineering came out with a really cool operator that's basically a stateful set manager operator that looks to try to provide some general management of stateful applications, some general configuration and control of them, so that you don't have to install a new custom operator for each stateful app that you have. Now, that being said, I haven't actually used it. I haven't actually used this, but I would like to test it out on some stream, where it allows you to, it's basically the deployment of a stateful app. So maybe this could be useful for things like when you're running SQLite, because there's what is that project that allows you to run that distributedly? There might be a few cases where this is actually really useful. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I think this is a cool experiment, if nothing else. Rust Scan is an open source port scanner. Mostly it's made in Rust, so it's awesome because Rust is how we're keeping our jobs from the AI agents. It's the end of an era for all of you Go-loving fans. Wait, the octopus had 9 legs? Did it really? Wait, where was that? This is definitely AI art, 100%. Like, look at this back leg. It's not even a leg. It's like a curtain. And like, it has these small tentacles. Like, this is the elephant man of octopuses. 100% AI art. 100%. Oh, generated with OpenAI, openart.ai. Okay, they accredit it. That's fine. They credit it. All right. So, anyways, for all of you who don't know, the leader of Goland. Or not Goland. Golang. Go language is stepping down and moving aside for Austin. Now, Austin currently leads a lot of the technical stuff anyhow inside of Google. And so I don't know that this is a huge deal or will make a huge change across the stuff. It's a little bit big of a deal because, you know, the creator of Go is stepping down. I hope that they're going to have a good time in their retirement. I know that this has to be a ton of work to keep up with a project like this. So I can understand wanting to step away, but we'll see if Go itself shifts any going forward. We'll see. They are going. Cables.gl is a free visual programming language, is now open source and offline. I think that this is kind of cool. And the reason I think this is kind of cool is for any of you that have ever used Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine has basically a visual programming thing like this that allows you to hook into the actual engine. Why this is cool here is because if it, as open source under the MIT license, you could actually embed this to allow people to modify your thing with a visual language like this. It's a cool concept because it allows people who aren't technical to extend your platform. So embedding something like this into your application and allowing you to like program, I say program light, like your filters or things like that, is really cool. So it was pretty cool that it got open source. I'm gonna let you guys go see it because I think it's there's some really cool opportunities there for sure. All right, Firefox is still releasing stuff now. I have Firefox installed. It failed my one test, but that's because I think a lot of these things are in nightly, and I'm not running on nightly. I'm running on current stable. So I'm gonna still give it a try. I'm probably gonna wait till the end of this year to do my big switch over where I only use Firefox for a month to see how much better it's gotten. Hopefully it solves the media issue. That's all I can say. More improvements to Firefox. Cool. More improvements. Announcing official Puppeteer support for Firefox. I think this is actually pretty big. So now, if you're using Puppeteer, you can actually test with Firefox. How cool is that? How cool is that? ThoughtWorks is go private in a $1.7 billion deal. This was the one piece that was not. I didn't have a category. Maybe this should have been in cloud. We can talk about cloud stuff now. Let's talk about cloud. That's the first piece of news in cloud. All right. Anybody else see open source? Any open source interest in open source thing? Project or whatnot? Do I have an overpaid consultant section? No, but you can hire me. I'm absolutely available. I would love the job of overpaid consultant. What are you talking about? Oh, for ThoughtWorks. Oh. Okay, so the Raspberry Pi Pico, that was a good call. That was a good call. The Raspberry Pi Pico 2 is out. The next big tiny thing. That's right. Our next generation microcontroller built. Just as good, but better. This doesn't make any sense in my mind. just as good, but better. So you could just say better, right? Like, I don't understand this statement at all. So one thing that I would love to see from this. Now I know, let's see, does it have a does it have Wi-Fi? It doesn't, does it? I don't see Wi-Fi hardware on here anywhere. What I would love to see is a PoE version of this. That's all I would love to see. I would love to see a PoE version. Like, get rid of this and just make it all PoE. Because I love, like, the ESP32 devices that, but like, the ESP32 has Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi is fine. But I also would love if I could just power all those devices via a, so it either needs Wi-Fi, in my personal opinion. It either needs Wi-Fi or it needs PoE. Like this is very difficult for me to use. Maybe I do too much connected stuff. I don't know. It looks cool though. For $5 though. I mean, like, I'm not complaining about the price range or anything like that. For $5, letting your child hack on it with some GPIO pins, just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, sorry. It is RISC-V, isn't it? I saw something about that. Let's see. It's not all RISC-V. It's Cortex-M. Oh, wait. More powerful ARM cores, optional RISC-V cores. I don't know what that means. More powerful ARM cores, optional RISC-V cores. So that means maybe when we go to buy it, is there like a version with them? How do we get the optional cores? Or like, are they optional use? Maybe, is that what they're saying? It's an amazing device for making a custom keyboard. I've actually wanted to make a custom keyboard. I want to make a custom, I have this Stream Deck for switching stuff like this, and I want to make a custom one of those. I hate the keys on this thing. They're all like squishy. And I would like to use like some real switches and make like a custom macro keyboard. And like I want to make like a 3D printed case and everything so people could just print their own. And something like this would be amazing for that. Something like this would be amazing for that. So that they could just buy this, snap it in, and yeah, go. Maybe I would make like a 3D, or maybe like I would make a custom PCB that allows you to plug one of these in. I feel like that's what I would do. Yeah, absolutely. All right. We got to move. I don't have that much time left for my lunch break. Actually, let me take a quick break and check. All right. Let's get into the cloud news. All right, cloud news. Real time in no time? BigQuery had a big update. Continuous queries for up to the minute insights. I have a lot of questions about this. To be honest, it has a lot of marketing buzzwords, but I don't understand. They have some contradictory statements, technically. But this is a distinguished software engineer. I don't know what that means. I'm not a distinguished software engineer. Trust me. All right. So basically, they say that they run these queries continuously, but I don't think that actually is true. I think that is marketing hype. If you wanted to get my analysis of what I could glean from this, the fact that when they say that they run them continuously, I think that they're lying. You can execute continuously processing SQL statements that can process. So basically, a lot of the times they say that they continuously run the query. So basically, they run it, and as soon as it's done running, they run it again. And as soon as they're done running, they run it again. I don't think that's true. I think what I can see is that it's actually just event-driven. So basically, they analyze all of the data that's in the tables, and when you in a query, and when you actually run or input data that changes anything that would be in that query, it runs the query again. That's my understanding of it. It's actually an event-driven architecture. Something that you could actually implement yourself easily outside of your database. So when you change the number of users, you rerun this query, you rerun this job, you put an event on there. Maybe if you have an event-driven architecture already, you put that change in, you add a new user, and part of that puts that user in a database. But then the next thing in that chain that listens to that event is the thing that runs that query. So to me, this feels like a feature for people that aren't actually an event-driven architecture and want a database that can kind of make that for you. That's my understanding of it at this time. I don't think, again, as I went through it, I don't think it actually runs the query continuously. It's just looking what you select and what you join on and seeing if any of that data ever changes. And if you do something, if you do an insert that changes something in this query, it's going to run the query again. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. If Pavan wants to talk to me, I would love to get an insight on how this actually works. But yeah, it was very confusing because they also call it an event-driven analytical platform, which isn't continuously running something. Again, like I said, they have contradictory terms throughout the paper. So they've hooked up, right. So they just basically hooked it up to run the query again. Again, it's cool for people that don't already have an event-driven architecture, but maybe also if you already have an event-driven architecture, maybe less cool. But yeah, see, BigQuery continuous queries are SQL statements that run continuously. I don't think this is true. I just don't. They would also be super expensive. Something that you don't realize is you pay for how long your query takes to execute. So just say it. Now, I couldn't test this out because I have to request access. I might do that in the future just to give it a shot. But my personal Google account probably won't get access. So we'll have to wait. Introducing a spanner graph databases reimagined. So if you're looking at graph databases, there's a lot of compelling graph databases out there. There's a lot of compelling ones out there, but Google Cloud has released Spanner Graph built on top of Spanner. They're really big fans of Spanner. There's a new job builder UI in GCP that allows you to build jobs, but it's a new UI. It actually does look slick compared to their old one. So if you want to check it out, I'd go for it. You like Neo4j? I'm not a big fan of Neo4j. It's pretty dog slow if you have a lot of data. What's new with Google Cloud? This should have been deleted. And we're on to AWS. Neo4j is fine as long as you have small amounts of data. AWS Lambda introduces controls to make it easier to search, filter, and aggregate Lambda function logs. I feel like I mentioned this last week, but it's pretty good, big news for Lambda because Lambda has a problem with manageability, and this is one of the things. AWS Cloud Share now supports Amazon Virtual Private Clouds, so this is good if you're a big Cloud Shell user and wanted to use VPCs. Pretty big deal. This is probably the biggest thing I saw in AWS is it now announces private IPv6 addressing for VPCs and subnets. Previously to this, they've all been public because, again, everybody can have an IPv6, a public IPv6. And yeah, anyways, you can now have a private scope. This should have been at the initial launch because there's a lot of times you just want a private IPv6 address. You know, private isn't about you just, it's kind of stupid. Anyways, announcing the general availability, it's something I've been asking for a while, of AWS Backup Logically Air-Gapped Vault. Today, AWS Backup announced the general availability of the Logically Air-Gapped Vault. This is something we talked about a little while ago when they released it in beta. It's a new type of AWS Backup Vault that allows secure sharing of backups across accounts, organizations, supporting direct restore to help reduce recovery time from a data loss event. So this gives you logically air-gapped vaults. Logically air-gapped doesn't mean air-gapped, just so you all know. PG Vector, everybody loves some Postgres Vector. 0.7 is now supported in Amazon Aurora. All right. Announcing a new OpenAI feature for developers on Azure. GPT-4o 2024-0806 brings innovative features designed to elevate developer experiences on Azure. Specifically, the new model focuses on I love how they say the new model focuses, like it's focusing, it doesn't have freaking attention. The new, I guess they focused building the model, but that's not the wording that they used, on enhancing productivity through structured outputs like JSON schema for the new GPT-4o and GPT-4o mini models. I don't know. We'll see if this is a big deal. My understanding is this would be really useful if you wanted to take that output and feed it into something else. I don't know. If you really want to take random output and just display it on screen, like who would make their, yeah, that's just ridiculous. Okay, I don't know. This was not that big of a deal. I should have deleted it. Azure NetApp Files cross-zone replication. We talked about this again, but it came to general availability. So if you're using NetApp Files, there's cross-zone replication now. That is going to let you sustain zonal failures. Remember, zones are usually separate data set. Usually, I think Azure guarantees that. AWS does. GCP does not. Are usually separate data centers, but they're in the same area. Usually the same buildings around. I'm not sure if Microsoft guarantees that or not. General availability of fine-tuning support for Kubernetes AI toolchain operator, Kato. Cato. With parameter effect fine-tuning support, you can now customize pre-trained models from the Cato repository for your data in your cluster, while maintaining the data compliance rules for your organization. Simply choose a target model, select one of the various tuning models, point to retaining the data, where to store fine-tuning results in Cato Tuning Workspace. This allows you to serve your smarter model and simplify ML lifecycle management directly from the AKS cluster. Cato. K2? You think it's K2? I think it's Cato. But I could be wrong, because I'm fairly often wrong on how things are pronounced. Fairly often. Yes, we need another vector database. We need more AI stuff. We need to focus the whole internet's power on AI. That's the goal. All right, internet. You heard it from me. From me. AI. That's where it's at. I got to run. Thanks for spending your lunch with me or your dinner evening. Cato. It could be Cato. Oh, I can't announce that? Whoa, what? Wait. I missed this. This is important. This is big. That's pretty cool. Now, I always know that I can, but can you? All right, bad dad jokes aside. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow for a fun little stream that we're going to do. I'm going to have to keep it short because I have a ton of work to do on the house. Way more than I was expecting. And anyways, but I'll have a fun stream with you guys in the morning. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have you guys yourselves a fantastic weekend.